Sri Lankan Budget 2025. As you are aware, 17th February 2025, President Anurakumaradissanayake, in his capacity as the Finance Minister, presented 79th budget of Sri Lanka. So this budget is a remarkable budget when you compare with the other budgets which we have already seen, because this is more focusing on the digitalization. So I will take you through the main points of the budget and how that is going to impact for everyone. First one, we can see expected economic growth rate for 2025 is 5%, and estimated total tax revenue to GDP is 13.9, and estimated total revenue to GDP is 15%. Now this is what IMF has already instructed, to keep 15% total revenue as the GDP. That is why the government is more focusing on revenue. And when you look at the projected revenue from exports of goods and services in 2025, it's 19 billion, and allocation of 4% for GDP for capital expenditure. President highlighted that the 4% will be allocated to specially for the capital expenditure, and 2.3% of estimated primary surplus of GDP 2025, and estimated budget deficit 6.7% to GDP for 2025. Right, now when you look at the budget vision, ensure the economic rights and well-being of people, and the budget has been developed with a focused sense of fiscal discipline, economic vision and guidance. And subsidy for senior citizens, we have seen that this is one of the major benefit given to the senior citizens, which are entitled for 3% additional interest subsidy for additional interest of 3% provided in July 2025 onwards. For example, if senior citizen, the market rate is 10%, the senior citizen will be eligible to get 13% interest income from the bank, and for that government has allocated already 15 billion for that. And another one more important point, especially the free trade agreements and the double tax avoidance agreement. Right now, Sri Lanka has already signed more than 44 countries DTA. Now, this is going to be expanded, and more countries will be coming to this one. The FTA network will be expanded, and DTA will also be expanded with priority given to the countries with high trade and investment potential. So according to this proposal, Sri Lanka will definitely look at the DTA, double taxation agreement, with the possible countries which we are doing lot of imports and export. And another one, I think this is a very important one. As per the IMF proposal, they have suggested to introduce imputed rental income for Sri Lanka. I think you might remember President Ranil Wickremesinghe mentioned that the imputed rental income going to be introduced in Sri Lanka, but this budget very clearly mentioning that imputed rental income won't introduce, even though IMF has already proposed this. And promoting SME sector and the entrepreneurship, government is working towards setting up a development bank. So at the moment, Sri Lanka doesn't have a development bank, even though they have established development bank earlier. Now they have converted to the commercial bank. So an stimulative loan scheme to re-energize development of SME sector. Basically, we can see in order to promote the SME, they have taken many actions. And promoting commercializable R&D activity, research and development. So especially the co-financing for specific R&D projects, while export will be made to enhance coordination between public research institutions, universities and Sri Lanka working related to the field abroad. If you look at the Inland Revenue Act, the exemption given for the R&D are also not available at the moment. So in that situation only, the government is more focusing on R&D, especially in Sri Lanka, and 1 billion has been allocated to Innovation and Investment Fund to promote commercialization of the research findings. And when you look at the legal reforms, we can see many initiatives. The first one we can say, an act to enable exchange of information between state institutions, Investment Protection Act, State Business Enterprises Management Act, Public and Private Partnership Investment, Statistics Act, Valuation Act, Public Asset Management Act. Likewise, we can see there are many acts they have introduced, and strengthening of anti-money laundering and countering the financing of terrorism frameworks. For that also, legal draftment or the legal reforms will be made. An amendment to the Paddy Marketing Board Act number 14 of 1971, which is very old at the moment. So these are going to be reformed under the legal reforms. And when you look at the reforms to the custom, a new custom law to be introduced, because the law which is right now using is more than 200 years old for Sri Lanka. So the simplified tariff structure to be established to create a simple, transparent and predictable tariff framework to increase accessibility to high quality raw material. And the Economic Transformation Act to be amended to suit emerging developments as well. And the key initiative that we have seen in this budget is promotion of digitalization and digital economy. So Sri Lanka unique digital identification, that is we call SLUDI, for all citizens will be introduced. Right now we don't have it, so this is going to be introduced. And government intends to grow Sri Lankan digital economy excess of $15 billion, 12% of the national economy over the next 5 years. And digital economy will be governed and protected through the creation of new legislation by strengthening the existing legislation, and Apex Digital Economy Authority to be established. And another important area we have seen in this budget is revision of the salary, especially for the government sector, not only the government sector, even private sector. So basic salary of employee of the public sector, especially universities and other SOEs, to be increased to 15,750. That is maximum of 65% increase. The 15,750 is the minimum one. So maximum is 65% of the increase. And the second one, minimum annual increment. Earlier it was only 250, but now it has increased to 450 with effect from 1st April 2025. And all government sector employees' annual salary increment would be similar. And withdrawal of specified public administration circulars on monthly interim allowance and the monthly allowances. Further revisions on allowance and overtime regulation have been proposed. And in addition to this, this is the government sector, and even you can see the private sector also. Private sector, the basic salary right now is 21,000, and this is going to be increased to 27,000, and 1st January 2026 onwards this is going to be 30,000 as well. And we need to remember that when we are looking at the revenue proposals, we have to take into consideration the proposals where the president made on 18th of December 2024 also, whereas he has mentioned that the personal tax relief is going to be 1.8 million. Those things also need to be considered. Anyway, now the first one we can see CGT rate increase. The capital gain tax rate at the moment for individuals is 10%. Now this is going to be increased for individuals and partnership for 15%, and corporates the current rate is 30%, which is going to be continued. And service exporters exemption, this proposal was made on 18th December 2024 by the president. So he mentioned that the service exports going to be liable and the rate would be 15%. Now here the clarification we need is whether this exemption is allowed only for individuals or whether it's corporates or whether it's for both. So this ambiguity or this clarification we need. So until as per the documents we have, we can't say that this is applicable only for the corporates. But as per the president's statement yesterday, I have seen that the president mentioned that this is mostly for the corporates, but it has not been documented so far. And CIT rate for service exporters will be 15%. And VAT 18% on digital services going to be introduced. And use of POS machine, the government is planning to introduce point of sale machines by the VAT registered persons will be mandatory. Right now we are having the manual documentation process. So when they introduce the POS system, that will be automatically updating in the both supply and the purchaser. At the same time, the same information can be taken to the Inland Revenue Department as well. And abolishing of SVAT, this is another one where the president mentioned on 18th December 2024 that SVAT won't abolish. But here, as per the yesterday's statement, the president technical note of the budget, he mentioned that the SVAT is going to be abolished. But they are going to introduce a risk-based refund scheme specified by the CA and order published in the Gazette. So there will be a refund scheme which is going to be introduced. I think with this POS machine and digital platform and especially for the VAT purposes, President proposed the digital platform is going to introduce for the VAT purposes. So if the digital platform is working, if the e-invoicing is working, this will be really easy to adapt. And betting and gaming levy, right now that is at 15% and it's going to be increased to 18%. And casino entrance levy, right now it's $50 and this is going to increase to $100. And stamp duty on leases, I remember that 18th of December 2024, President mentioned that this rate going to be increased to 2% with effect from 1st January 2025. But this proposal says, or the budget proposals mention, that the proposal will be effective from 1st May 2025, and the leases on all the properties, that's what he mentioned. And Tax Appeal Commission Act, there are many proposals to increase the rates, especially the fee levy to state case for the opinion of the Court of Appeal rupees 10,000, and to make an appeal to TAC 15,000. These fees are going to be revised with these new amendments. And revenue proposal, CIT rate revised to 40% to 45%. That was mentioned in 18th of December 2024, especially liquor, betting, gaming, liquor and tobacco. The right now rate is 40%, it's going to be increased to 45% with effect from 1st April 2025. And personal tax relief, as I mentioned earlier, it was 1.2 million at the moment, personal tax relief for citizens of Sri Lanka and residents. So everyone enjoyed 1.2. Now this will be going up to 1.8 million. That means basically if somebody is earning, his total income is less than 1.8 million, he doesn't need to pay the taxes in Sri Lanka with effect from 1st April 2025. And the rates also have been already given, 36%. You have to apply. And AIT on interest, especially the interest income, right now the withholding tax rate is 5%. This is going to be increased to 10%. That was actually mentioned in 18th of December 2025. But in the budget proposal, we cannot see this one. And the last proposal, actually, this was made on again vehicles to Sri Lanka, because that was allowed even under the third stage with effect from 1st February 2025 onwards. So all the vehicle importation will be liable for excise duty, custom duty, and there was another surcharge of 50% for the existing custom duty. So altogether, the earlier rate was 20%. So if they added the surcharge of 50%, now the custom duty would be 30% with effect from 1st February 2025. And luxury tax was there. Luxury tax also introduced. And VAT will be there 18%. And SSCL is not applicable if the excise duty is applicable. So in addition to that, PAL, as per the available information, port and airport development levy will not be applicable for motor vehicles. So this is the basic summary of budget proposals of 2025. I have taken you through and this is the summary of budget 2025. Basically we can get an idea. The government has more focus on digitalization this time, and not only that, the economic growth, and they were more focusing on the other sectors, especially the SME sector development, and mostly we can see all the initiatives they have taken to digitalization process. So I hope this information is really important for you. So if you need to get more information, visit taxadvisor.lk, and we have already given a detailed article on each change where you can get more idea.